We are There we go, recording in progress. We will be sharing some documents via a Google Drive, and we will be also uploading this presentation as well for your reference down the line. So welcome, everybody. We're excited you're here. Yeah, of course. Thanks, Elizabeth. I'm so glad to see you. All right, so if you are unfamiliar with Dyslexia Center of Austin, sometimes we go by our abbreviation of DCA. We are a non-profit organization located in Austin, Texas, whose mission is to provide education, services, and additional supports for those with dyslexia and other related learning differences. And so we are thrilled to be able to do this work in the Central Texas area, but really we are all over Texas, and we are even beyond Texas. I'm actually coming to you live from New Orleans, Louisiana. So that is where we're at. We're all over, you guys. And we've supported families in our local area, but then we've even reached as far as Pennsylvania. So we are excited to be doing this work with you.
And hi, I'm Karen Blaze, and here with the Dyslexia Center of Austin as well, the DCA. And in case you didn't know, we kind of have four main parts of what we do as the DCA. One is our training arm. We train dyslexia therapists. We train teachers to become dyslexia therapists. We also provide comprehensive and reduced rate evaluations for families for their children with dyslexia to determine dyslexia. We have a team of about 4 diagnosticians currently. So we also provide a summer program for no cost dyslexia therapy for students in underserved circumstances. That was new last year, the summer programming. We used to do a little after school support as well. And also providing dyslexia awareness through resources like this. And this summer, we're going to be having a once a month summer webinar. So you're at the first one. I'm so glad you're here. And we're going to be toggling back and forth, Lindsay and I, by the way. So here I am. I'm Karen. I am a former special ed teacher and gen ed teacher. I've been in the world of dyslexia for about 10 years. I did my training as a dyslexia therapist through the Dyslexia Center of Austin, and I am now a qualified instructor of therapists as well at the Dyslexia Center of Austin. Super happy to be here with you guys tonight.
All right, and I'm also a former classroom teacher turned dyslexia therapist. I've been in private practice for roughly the past 6 years, also acquiring my CALT certification through DCA. Right now, I'm currently serving as a national consultant for 2 different curriculum organizations and supporting Dyslexia Center as just an instructor and then communication. So I handle a lot of our incoming emails. So lots of familiar names of you guys coming on through today. So we're excited to be here with y'all. But while we are all of these things, we are educators, we are CALTs, we are dyslexia advocates. Most importantly, we are also parents. And so we get it in a variety of ways. We understand. And we know that while summer can be such a fun time, summer might also mean a lot of unstructured pieces. And it can also be an opportunity, though, for us as that parent to really put ourselves, where we are that first teacher of our children. And so we are trying to make it a playful and cognitively supportive summer for our students to avoid that summer slide. And so, Karen, I don't know if you want to say anything else. I've got 2 itty bitty kiddos, so I'm kind of on the newer end of parenthood. Charlie is about to be 8, and Eleanor is about to be 4. But I know my Karen's got some older kiddos.
On that other end of things, where I have a 16-year-old son and a 14-year-old daughter, but I've been in the shoes of having the younger ones trying to figure out what was needed over the summer as well, and managing the fight over the years of getting those those reading logs filled out, or getting the required summer minutes for reading. And that just was such a drag. So tonight, our goal is to connect with you as parents as well as educators and ensure that we have some ideas for you to make things as parents a little more exciting than logging minutes in a reading log.
Yes, yes. So what are some of those summer goals? And so we really do. We want to make learning fun, but our goal is to help you strengthen your overall language awareness skills and the language skills of your child just in your day-to-day interactions. One of the biggest takeaways today. So I kind of want you to create a little bucket. You can create a little bucket off to the side. We're going to put some big ideas in those buckets. But one of those big ideas is that I want you to walk away with this importance of oral language and these conversational turn taking pieces that you're having with your child and really being present in those conversations. And so, yes, of course, we have our summer goals of maintaining our reading skills, allowing for that practice daily if possible. We really want to make sure that we have that opportunity to build their confidence, right? Celebrating their effort, and so engaging tailored activities, trying to boost that self-confidence. What one of our biggest goals as parents especially is going to be is to make sure that these foundational reading and writing skills stay strong. We really want to start to think about literacy as this pyramid, if you will, or a sandcastle since we're up and coming to summer. And so we want to make sure that that strong foundation stays just like that, stays strong. Or maybe you are new on this dyslexia journey. And so what are some things you can be doing to strengthen your child's foundation, preparing them for the school year ahead? And of course, we want to make it fun, right? We are not the tutor necessarily for our children. We are not necessarily the classroom teacher. We are their parent. And so how can we balance that relationship piece, but also while making sure they are learning and growing in all the right ways? And so that is what we are aiming for today. We're aiming for that positive and engaging piece, tracking that progress together. And so when Karen and I got together to sort of brainstorm, how do we want to present this? Well, we said, let's go ahead. Let's jump on in. Let's go on a road trip. Anybody going on a road trip this summer? Drop it in the chat. You can give us some inspiration. But we do. We want you to jump in this car with us. And so we got a convertible. Yay, look at us. But our summer starts here at the tippy top. And we're really going to focus on three main stops along this road of development until we reach the school year. And so this is our roadmap for today. So if you're ready to jump on in, we do want to make sure that we ourselves, those parents in the room, those educators, we've got a little bit of science. So we've got some Breaking Bad here for us. I love myself some Jesse Pinkman. And yeah, science, Dr. White. And so there are a couple of things that I want us to all be on the same page about. Reading, shockingly enough, is not natural. When you come out of the womb, right? Even if you are reading to that little baby all the time, it doesn't mean that that's going to be an acquired skill. They don't just learn by watching you read or anyone else who's a caregiver in their life. And so reading must be explicitly and systematically taught. When we think about what is natural, language, right? We all come out of the womb and we all come out cooing, crying. We are communicating orally. And so when we start to really build out this idea that our oral language is the foundation for the rest of someone's literacy life, we can really start to make sure that that surface level of language and literacy skills is being strengthened. And so we also want to keep in mind a few other little pieces. Where does language happen? Well, language is happening in the left hemisphere. So when you think L for language, I want you to think L for left hemisphere. You can even go ahead and find your left hemisphere. Where is it? Yeah, I bet you're looking good. Maybe that's the side you like when you take pictures. Lots of selfies, except maybe not. That's okay. But language is happening in that left hemisphere. Other good news for us. Our brains are plastic. Chances are you've heard of plasticity before. And when we are learning to read, we are actually engaging in something called neuronal recycling. And that is neuronal recycling of the oral language networks on the left hemisphere, or really in the left hemisphere of the brain. And so when we start to think about that piece, we start to think about how we are layering reading on top of our oral language. Some of you have had presentations and little get-togethers with me in the past, but I love to sort of explain a little bit about the reading brain for you. And so we do have this image, and it sort of looks like it belongs in a doctor's office. But we as a parent, we as educators, we are working on our children's brains and on their hearts every single day. And so language is happening in this left hemisphere. So you've got frontal lobe in the front left. Sometimes we refer to that as Broca's area. You jump to that back left of the brain, you have something called your occipital lobe. That is responsible for your letter knowledge and letter pattern. So that recognition, your visual processing. But this looks a little complicated. And so I have a funny little saying that goes along with the reading brain. And so my dad, how did I end up getting into dyslexia and all of these other pieces in regards to language and literacy? Well, I grew up with a father not being able to read or write. I can remember going into a grocery store in first grade. My mom had written out the grocery list. I was learning to read myself in first grade, and my mom sent me to go and read the grocery list for my dad. And so that moment stuck with me my entire life. What also stuck with me was my dad's hairstyle back in the 80s. It was a mullet. Now, it wasn't as cool as Joe Dirt, but the reading brain really is like the hairstyle, the mullet. Now, there is a funny little sort of sing-song saying that goes along with the mullet. If you are able to unmute, if you think you know it, you can share it out via unmuting, or you can drop it in the chat. Does anyone know that funny little saying? I know I'm going out on a limb here.
Business in the front, party in the back.
Woo! We're going out after this. Was that Caitlin? Yes, it was. Amanda knows it. So yes, happy hour after this. But you guys, that is it. That's the reading brain. It is business in the front, party in the back. Taking a peek at that reading brain one more time. This is that left hemisphere. You've got the business in the front. You guys, what lives in the front left of our brain? That's our oral language. Remember what we just said is oral language is what is natural. So this piece, those infants, right? These young children, they are developing this front left of the brain, the business, this oral language piece. But it is going to be the back left of the brain. This is where we're really trying to get all of our children focusing that blood flow, if you will, getting that activation in the party in the back left of the brain. And so that is what we're thinking about. And instead of using that language of business in the front, party in the back, I sort of tweak it to say it is sounds in the front, letters in the back. And you guys, these two parts of our reading brain, again, they're being placed on top of these language networks, these oral language networks. We have to connect those two pieces. The reading brain is not connected. We, as the parent, we as the educator, we as the CALT, I know we've got lots of those present today as well who are in multiple roles. But we have to fire those neurons and wire them together. That is what we're trying to do. We are trying to connect the front left of the brain with the back left of the brain. Our students with dyslexia, our children, they have a hard time connecting the sounds in the front with the letters in the back. Our executive director, Kelly, will often say, they can do it. They're just taking back country roads. And so what I want us to think of today is how are we strengthening this bridge connecting the front left with the back left of the brain? We are constantly trying to build that bridge to smooth it out for accurate and automatic word reading. And so take that with you. If you've got questions, comments, or if you ever need to contact us at any point down the road, I do want to drop this in the chat, and we'll drop it in the chat later as well. But you can always reach out to us at info@dyslexiacenterofaustin.org. And there is one more little piece of science that I want to share with you guys. to kind of get a better sense of, okay, I get it. I'm strengthening the sounds in the front to the letters in the back, trying to get my kid to the party in the back left of the brain. That's the reading party. But what is it? And how do I get there? We're building this roadmap and we're going to be building it together. But this is another really cool theoretical model. It was developed by Hollis Scarborough, and it is the reading rope. You, as your child's first teacher, this is sort of what we're aiming for. These are the pieces we can think about, these individual strands, and they are coming together. Now, when we take a peek at this, I want us to also remember that reading is a bottom-up approach. And so while we are hoping word recognition skills, multiplying them by language comprehension skills at the tippy top, are equaling our skilled reading, we know that we're building that pyramid. Word recognition skills are going to be critical for our children. But we also want to make sure we're not missing out on these language comprehension pieces as well. And so if this is an unfamiliar model to you, I encourage you, again, we'll share out this slideshow, but this has really helped me not only strengthen my own interactions with my children as a parent when I do read alouds or when I'm looking at letters on a menu with them at a restaurant, but it has totally morphed my own dyslexia therapy practices as I aim to strengthen every single strand for every single child. And so we are going to pack that in our suitcase. So go ahead, pack it up. And we are going to jump in the car. And you got to get in because we are taking off. We are already going to land on our first stop of our road trip. And Karen's going to hop in the driver's seat and start to talk about how we can strengthen our students and really our children's sound skills.
Thanks, Lindsay. So, as Lindsay so wonderfully explained to us how important the knowledge and understanding of how the reading brain works, we're always going to keep that behind us as our background knowledge now, right? We have that sound system here, we have our letters back here. So, let's pop into the next slide and check out why sound skills are really an important piece of this puzzle. So, there's a wonderful terminology that I know I see a lot of my educator friends here tonight. Thanks for showing up, guys. The world of phonological awareness, right? And if you're a parent, you may have heard of it before, and you may not have. Really, this is the work in sound world. So in Greek, phone means to be able to hear and listen, right? So we have our sound. Phone is sound. And why it's important is that it's the foundation of reading. You can see this cute little image here with the cement down on the floor of the building that's about to happen, right? So our foundational level is within the sound. This helps us to develop within the kids their phonics skills. So connecting the sound to a letter. And that's really where our kids with dyslexia have their first hiccups. It helps with the decoding of words, right? Once you get the sound, you know the letter, then you can begin to put those letters together and form the word that should come next. It improves reading and it improves spelling. Being able to take a word and break a word apart into its sounds and then encode it down into some letters, that's spelling. So sound skills are the foundation of what you're doing. The best part for a parent is we're going to show you a lot of sound work right now that we can do anywhere you are. So the fun part about working on phonological awareness is that you could be in the car. You could be at the grocery store. You could be in that dreadful forever line at Schlitterbahn or Six Flags or Disney World or wherever you're taking the kiddos this summer. So sound games work like this. First, think really big picture. You can play games like, hey, I'm hearing something. What's that sound? And anywhere you are, you will be hearing a plethora of sounds. One great way to help your children is to discriminate. I hear the sound of the fan above us, or I hear that checker making the beep, beep, beep sound on the register. Lots of different ways to play with that. You can play I Spy with sounds, right? Oh, I spy a sound right now, and it sounds like A high whistling sound. What could that be? Oh, it's the tea kettle in the kitchen. Something like that. You can play beginning sound field trips. It's my favorite thing to do when my kids were teeny tiny. And it was, we're going to the grocery store. All right, and we're going to think of everything we can find in the grocery store that starts with the sound shh, right? What could we find? Or we could find something with the sound p. The best is then you have to make them remember the things that they found, right? So that's just big open-ended sound games. You can play rhyming games, rhyming, creating rhymes, deciding if rhymes are real or not. We have a resource we're about to show you in just a little bit. We're not there yet, but rhyming, you can sing songs with rhymes. Those nursery rhymes have all kinds of fun rhymes to them. You can play with syllables. And syllables are a lot more than just clapping, right? Like the teachers do. That can be a little boring. Think fun, think out of the box. Jump roping to syllables, right? Hopscotching to syllables. We used to do that outside of my house here. I would draw the hopscotch and I would say, okay, here's the word. You're going to jump the parts. The word is elephant. And they would have to jump 3 boxes. You can play with dancing ribbons the same way. Lots of good, fun, being able to break a word apart into its syllable or word part. There's stuff beyond that counting and determining syllables. It's working with syllables, breaking a word down and deleting syllables, changing it. We have, like I said, a resource I'm going to show here in a minute on that. But we'll pop into the next slide, which gives us a little bit more of a breakdown in our sound skill activities as well. So, beyond that bigger picture, which is called phonological awareness, we have phonemic awareness. And that's just the little sounds, the smallest sounds inside of our English words. Okay, so how can we do this? We can think about listening to a word and we can break its sounds apart, right? What's the first sound you hear in the word popcorn? Right? We want to hear a p, right? We can blend those sounds together. I could give my kiddo those sounds. I could say, we're going to go to the p, oo, oh. Where are we going? We're going to the pool. We can change sounds inside of words as well. And Lindsay, if you could toggle onto that sound skills resource that we have. We're going to drop this into the chat box here. Hopefully it'll pop up. We can see it. Here it is.
Yes, and
So,
I have dropped that link for you guys. So again, we will be sharing a full-on folder. And this is a direct link to this document we're sharing with you now. So take a peek and know that it is a few pages long, but this will give you at least a good starting spot. Knowing that it moves from simple to complex, so you can sort of tailor it to meet the needs of your child where you think they are currently. But again, don't be afraid to start off at the beginning, the first page, to see, build that confidence, and be like, oh yeah, we got that. Let's move on down the line. And of course, have some fun. Create your own and base it off of this resource that we're providing for you here.
so Lindsay and I were both kindergarten teachers, so we love themes. So as we were creating this, we started kind of getting real excited along the way about our themes. So maybe you'll be able to play I Spy with that on your own and find the summer section that we did with sidewalk and watermelon and popcorn and things of that fun nature. I think we put milkshake. Oh, maybe you found it. So like Lindsay said, hopefully this can just be like a jumping off point for you guys. The final parts, blending, segmenting, changing, this is all a lot more advanced work for kiddos with dyslexia. And oftentimes kids with dyslexia, even if they've been in a year of intervention or even in 2 years of intervention, are still going to need support with manipulating sounds inside of words, right? So the medial sound manipulation would be a more difficult task, right? Hey, I'm going to say a word. I'm going to say the word sit. Now you say sit, but change the I to eh. And then what do you get? You get set, right? It's a lot harder than it sounds. And this is some of the work that our kids will need to continue hearing and practicing with over the summer months. All right. And oh, look at all the people here. Hi, people. Let's see if we pop back into our awesomeness here. Okay. So sound skill activities, we got that covered. We're looking good here. And then continuing onward with sounds is our world of oral language. Like Lindsay said, we're born ready to communicate and we're born ready to talk. Just being around talkers, we become talkers. But the research does show that our kiddos with dyslexia will have some vocabulary impairments or vocabulary lag based upon their challenge with reading. Oftentimes, we're reading more challenging words than we might even know as young humans, and we learn vocabulary through text along with talking. So one thing we encourage for parents of kiddos with dyslexia to do is to work on that vocabulary development. And this is good stuff. This is the chatting it up stuff, right? We want our kiddos to know the words and really own their words, right? Quite often I will talk to kids and I'll say, especially even my teenagers, how was your day? And the word is good. Right, and I'm like, there's so many additional words, so I get to probe a little bit deeper. Well, was it marvelous? Was it phenomenal? Right? And those are pretty amazing words, right? But also, was it boring? Was it really good? What's going on? What's happening? Vocabulary is your foundation. Vocabulary correlates to reading comprehension very deeply. And in our next slide, we've got some fun game ideas for you. So there's my girl, Amy Poehler, getting ready for game night, right? Who loves a good game night? We have Friday night game nights. I love it. My very favorite, very young game is the game of Guess Who. Hopefully, you've seen this game. It is one of my favorites. It's this great little board game. You pop up all these little people and then you take turns one on one and you get to ask questions about what person you're trying to identify. So, does my person have red hair? No, this person doesn't have red hair. You get to continue with the oral language work of asking a question and getting an answer in a complete sentence. There's the headbands game, also really amazing. 20 questions games, lots of questioning work, right? That's what we think about when we think oral language and developing those words. And then there's great games like charades, which you don't even think of as an oral language game, yet it really is because someone is acting out something and then the other people are having to activate that oral language knowledge in the brain and find that left hemisphere working and come up with some grand ideas for what you're trying to get at with games like charades. So, these are some fun resources for you. Again, on any of these games, these are all games that you can go to Walmart or Target and pick up. If any of them have reading to them, you can always support your young dyslexic humans with with a little reader for them, right? Get the whole family involved. And if they can't read the card and say apples to apples, team up. Somebody be the reader for the non-reader, and just to have fun and lots of good talking. All right, so I think our road trip might be ready for its second stop.
Yeah. I want to add one quick little thing too, because I love that you're hitting on vocabulary, and just to hit that home even more. We know that if a child has a word living in their oral language, if they're able to use it in a sentence, if they have it in their oral language, the more likely they are to read that word, write that word, And again, own that word, using it syntactically, using it appropriate at that sentence level in their writing down the road. And so the more we can grow that vocabulary, the better. There was also a really cool study that was published in 2006 by Stahl and Nagy. And it turns out that when we get our kiddos to fourth grade, right, we've got word recognition skills developing, but by fourth grade, vocabulary alone accounts for roughly 50 to 60% in their reading comprehension, in their variance for reading comprehension. And so just that piece alone, vocabulary is a big, big deal. So have those great conversations, play those fun, authentic games, and strengthen the language you use with those children. I always say, we start off at like $1 level, but don't be afraid to bring your language with your children to that $10 status, right? So level up that oral language, use some unusual or unfamiliar words. And when they're like, what does that mean? Explain what that word means. So helping them own the language. All right, Karen, we'll jump back in. We had to stop and get some gas. So here we go. Road trip. Let's go.
We went to Buc-ee's, we gassed up, we got some beaver nuggets and some big gulp sodas, and we're in it to win it. So here we are. The next stop is the biggie. This one is our reading world, right? I was trying to come up with some alliterative spaces. So by the way, I had the sound space or the sound sphere. You like that one? And then I had the reading realm. It felt very outworldly. All right, so let's pop in. Okay, so one thing that I know every single time I talk to parents of a child who is struggling, or even a child who's not really, is how do we find the right book? We don't know. Now, if a child is reading wonderfully, we look at interest, of course, right? A child who has no challenges is not really the child we're talking about tonight, right? We're talking about our friends, our kiddos who are going to be needing this extra support. And so looking at interest level is one part of it, but really also understanding the level where your own child is, right? So the number one thing I always say to parents is take a look if your child's been in an intervention program at their school, whatever pieces of intervention homework your child has been bringing home, there's probably been some text passage or some sentence reading that they have brought home and that they were successful with. Take a look at that. Kind of get a gauge on where they were. When I say quality of the book, that really means when we talk about the quality is how many words are going to be on each page, how many sentences are going to be on each page, and how complex are the words on each page. We don't want to get to frustrational level ever with our kiddos, and if we do, it's okay. That's the moment we take over, and that book becomes more of a read aloud or something that's called choral reading, which we'll talk about in a moment. Um, we don't ever want to take away the potential to read with your ears as much as reading with your eyes. So if your kiddo has a Learning Ally app on their iPad or some other way to successfully hear a reader reading that book or that passage to them, especially if they can have it connected with the text on the screen or in a book of some sort, read with your ears. Even also in a car ride on that road trip, putting on that Audible or that Libby app or whatever it is that you have with a book that can engage your child, because at that point you're working on some oral language development and you're working on the sense of story when you stop and you chat about it. So reading with your ears is really important. We're going to talk about that just right level for reading in a little bit, but I thought I'd give you this big helpful hint that I like to tell people. Create a goal for yourselves, right? We're really goal-driven human beings, right? We love a competition. And so a goal for yourself and your family, separate from each other, even. Every summer, I like to create my own personal reading goal, how much I'm going to read. But for your kiddos and for yourselves, opt in. Try for 10, 15 minutes a day, right? If that's too much at first, knock it down a little bit. Work to add in, right? If your kid's been reading at school, at home on their, maybe at their required reading minutes, if it's been 20 minutes, start at 15 over the summer and work upwards. Try to get 4 to 5 days a weekend if you can. But always having that goal in mind and being okay that a goal also has some stepping stones to get to, right? We're going to be early in the summer. Where are we going to be at the end of the summer? And our next slide will be a little bit more about the ways that we can practice reading. So, thinking about ways to read that book with your child, right? Like I said, sometimes you're going to go to the library and you're going to pick a book that might be too hard. What can you do if you get to that point? It's okay. That's why we have something called echo reading, right? It could be that you read for a while and you get to a sentence that looks like a simpler sentence and you say, hey, I'm going to read this one. You read it back to me afterwards. And you point and read with them. Choral reading is that reading together like a choir. Um, and sometimes their voice might be a little bit behind yours, but they're still getting a lot of information and input into their brains when they're doing that type of reading. Turn taking reading is really, really helpful too. Our younger friends with dyslexia, our younger kiddos with dyslexia, they will get fatigued along the way. Doesn't mean we have to stop. It means that it's our turn to take over. We don't ever want to get over fatigued. Um, if your kiddo's at the independent reading level, you've got a great book in hand, everything's good. There's some great ways to work on reading that book and getting better with that book or that piece of text that you have. So we think about repeated readings. And if you can look in this little box here under our friend who's reading by himself, it says read one time. And the number one goal of reading when you're first reading a book is to read that book as accurately as you can. If you make a mistake, no problem. Come back over. Let's reread it. Or come back over. I'm going to read it. You read it back to me. Getting accurate before we try to get faster is most important. You probably have heard a lot in your days now as a parent about reading fluency. It is not your goal to get your child to read super fast this summer, but the goal of reading more accurately happens as a child reads a book or a piece of a passage again and again. So repeated readings are important. I always talk to my kids about when they would watch the same movie over and over and over, or the same one TV show over and over and over. It was the same then. It was like, hey, you watched that movie 18 times this summer. You can quote it. Same thing with the book. It's great if you have a book memorized or a poem memorized or a passage memorized, because then you're going to get so much better at knowing those words. You're taking those snapshots, they're getting deeper and deeper into your brain. The third time you read, or I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. That second time you read, you're reading for punctuation. You're reading to make sure that it sounds right, that you're stopping when there's a period, that your voice raises when you see a question mark. Noticing the quotation marks. It's telling you that someone's talking. You could use a fun voice. And that leads us into that third time you would read the same book. You can read it differently. You can read it with silly voices. You can read it with multiple character voices, really ensuring that it sounds like you're speaking as you're reading. And then we'll get to our next slide, which has an amazing resource that we put together for you. We hope that you'll find it enjoyable and useful. This one is called Finding the Just Right Book. So I call it the just right because you all know the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Poor old Goldilocks. She had to try that big chair out and that that medium chair out. Neither of them were just right till she found Baby Bear's chair. Same thing with those bowls of porridge. She had to find that just right bowl of porridge. It's the same thing with your kid. There will be a book that is too hard. Likely, there might be a book that's too easy. You're finding and working on finding that just right. It's not going to be too hard. It's not going to be too boring. And so we created a little resource here for you. Looking at books that are decodable. Decodable just means that they follow a pattern of language, a pattern of phonics that is useful and successful given what they've been taught so far in school. So there's ways to find decodable stories. We've got stories with pictures. We've got decodable chapter books. These are great for those older readers who are still at a level that they need that predictable, expected, decodable word. So there's multiple ways to look for different books here. Then there's authentic books. These are non-controlled texts. This is what you're going to go to the library and find most likely. There's a couple of ways to look for them, decodable text resources. And then there's chapter books. There's early chapter books. There's later chapter books. We even have more engaging text with interesting vocabulary that you can find in this wonderful resource we put together for you. Um, excuse me. I hope that this is a helpful, and I believe Lindsay did drop it in the chat for you too.
Yes, and thank you, Owen, and thank you everybody chiming in. We've had a lot of good questions in regards to other apps or programs that we recommend for reading with our ears. And so, yes, Learning Ally is a big one. And we know for sure that at least if you are in the state of Texas, your child should be able to qualify for that through school to be free. If not, reach out to them, see what they can do to help. You can also contact Learning Ally directly. I believe their headquarters is actually located in Austin, but you don't have to be in Austin to give them a call or send them an email. I've also had a lot of students use Epic, but I do believe that is a paid for service potentially. I'd have to do some more research. My own son actually loves, it's not where it's accompanied with the words, but he has something called a Yoto player, Yoto. And he listens to audiobooks. That is his absolute favorite thing. I was telling Karen the other day that he can quote chapters pretty much. He's listened to Chronicles of Narnia so much that he can quote them back to me. So his vocabulary is really growing because he's hearing these unusual words and he's asking me questions. We're listening to them together. He loves it. And then we had another colleague drop this, and that's a great resource. Thank you, Amanda. She's saying Wonder Books is often being carried in a lot of public libraries. And so that is kind of you can check it out from the library, and it's called a play away device. And so it's usually attached to the physical copy of the book, and it allows you to listen and follow along to the text if desired. And so take a peek at that, see if your library has those. But those are a few that we find to be really effective. And again, what we're just dropping here, free resource. We love free. And hopefully this will put you in the right direction, helping you to find where can I get quality books that will be that just right fit. We want that Goldilocks. So Karen, I don't know if you have other thoughts on those. I think you and I have talked a lot about these pieces.
Yes, absolutely. I encourage you and take the kiddos to the library. It's just the greatest fun summer experience. We used to have library trips once a week. I'm sad that my teenagers don't let me drag them to the library anymore, but I guess that's a rite of passage now that my 16-year-old drives his own car around. Okay, so thankfully, here we are. We are moving right along to the world of writing. This is such a fun part of our road trip, right? So we think about writing as the breathing out of our language. There's a wonderful quote that reading and writing cannot ever be separated because reading is breathing in and writing is breathing out. So let's pop in. Let's see what's going on. Why does writing matter so much? So truly all the research right now tells us dyslexia really can affect children and create additional writing challenges. Oftentimes, our children with dyslexia will also be diagnosed with dysgraphia, which is that same condition in the brain that disconnects the brain from making those strong neural pathways to get that writing hand working. So we look at writing challenges in the realm of organization and structure. And you see sweet Yoda here. He never quite could figure out how to organize his words to make them in that grammatically correct way. But that's okay. We still love Yoda. He's pretty amazing. We work on things, or we notice that we have challenges with handwriting. Like I said, that's oftentimes you'll see within the dysgraphic piece of many of our children's brains. Copying words can also be challenges. Then we have, of course, additional challenges with spelling and vocabulary. I can't tell you how often kiddos will talk me through what they want to write about, and it is amazing and it's prolific and it's fantastic. And then they write good because they know how to spell it and because it's simple. So our goals are to extend that, to encourage more. We can even just have, some basic general writing challenges, which would look like fatigue, which would look like the fight and the frustration toward it. So we have some fun handwriting ideas for you. My handwriting world, I adore it. I have a daughter who has struggled with handwriting since her little early beginnings and still does. And so over the many, many years, we have tried all kinds of fun activities with getting that handwriting going. Writing outside with sidewalk chalk, writing in clay, putting out Play-Doh and making letters with Play-Doh, using the wonderful fun whiteboard. Fun fact, you can go to like your hardware store, a Home Depot or a Lowe's or something like that. You can get a shower board and have them cut it down and make a small little whiteboard for you, less expensive than if you went to the Walmart and had to purchase a whiteboard. But somehow those are always much more engaging. You can kind of pretend school with that. Writing in shaving cream and easels, just anything you can think of that can make it a little different than just that pen and pencil. We would take a big bucket and a big paintbrush and we would write huge letters on our fence or on our sidewalk at home. And we would also then add a little science and wait and see how long it took to evaporate. And on a hot Texas day, that will evaporate quite quickly. But also don't shy away from writing apps. There's writing apps. My favorite is called Writing Wizard. It's not free. I think it's like $3 or $4, but it'll work on an iPad or a touchscreen enabled tablet. And there's cursive Writing Wizard, there's print Writing Wizard. When you think about what writing you want to do, you think about what are they using in school. If they're printing in school, work with print. If they're using cursive in school, encourage that as much as you can. So then our next screen is a little bit beyond just the handwriting. It's how do we make it meaningful, the authentic writing piece, right? You are not in a classroom over the summer. We do not want you to have your child sit down and write an essay. Ick. So what are some fun ways to encourage writing throughout the summer? Well, good old postcards. I love them. I love to get them. You know who loves to get them? Grandma and grandpa, and aunt and uncle. So even if you're at home, go and buy a postcard and have them send that out. It's always so exciting. Letters to relatives, creating an activity journal, right? Every time you go somewhere, even if all they're doing is writing the name of where you went. Totally great. That's extra work and extra encouragement. If your kid is at the place where they can write that sentence, go ahead, get working on it. I went to the beach. Encourage that sounding out of those words Great. And then we can encourage editing those words and making sure that word beach, it's a trickster. It's not spelled with a B and a E and a CH. There's a silent E in that one. Oh, golly. And so we go back and we fix it. Creating comic books, right? Drawing and labeling maps, all kinds of fun ideas. One of my favorite things I encouraged my own children to do a few years ago was I made them write their requests of me in the summer. I'm summer mom. I'm real fun in the summer, but I also am making you do your work a little bit. So if you wanted to go to the mall, great. You have to write it down and ask me. We also made a jar one year of all the fun things that we could do, and I made them take little slips of paper and write out what they might do. Kayak, swimming pool, the water park. And then we put them in the jar. And when it was a day off with nothing to do, we would pull one out. What could we do today? So authentic writing is the right way to go. There's some spelling games you can play if your child is ready for them. Scrabble and Boggle all have junior versions. Bananagrams is very similar to Scrabble in that you make words and you create words.
You guys on the chat is blowing up with great ideas. Stephanie, I just want to make sure you're walking away with that Writing Wizard, a great app for handwriting. You guys, Catherine dropped in this awesome comment. She says she works in a nursing home and the residents love getting cards from kids, even if they don't know them. So what a great way to sort of give back and connect in that community. We also have Catherine Bercato chiming in. My son and I had a journal that we passed back and forth. I would write something and give it to him. He would respond and give it back to me. We both had fun and deep conversations in this way. I love that, Kathy. Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. So hopefully we are inspiring you. Hopefully the chat is inspiring you, making it fun, making it realistic, right? Really allowing that summer for you to live, for you to breathe. But in that summertime, just like the school year, we know that there can be fatigue and the fight. Karen and I chat often about this as she sort of mentors me with my young children. And so how do we go from this to this? How do we learn to stop and adapt? And that, of course, is really just us being that parent, recognizing that body language, recognizing that tone in their voice, and trying to not bring those tears about potentially, knowing when to stop and when to change the subject. When do we pivot? And so, Karen, I don't know if you have additional things you want to share about this as well.
There I am. So, right, yeah, just like Lindsay said, the stop and pivot. And also knowing that all these great ideas that we hope that we're giving you tonight, and I'm so in love with this chat. I want to take screenshots of everybody's ideas and add them for the next time that we give this, is knowing that all of what we're providing doesn't have to be sitting at the kitchen table or at a desk in 30-minute time and then it's done, right? This is like it's more like a flow, right? Like we talk about, the sound skills can happen whenever, wherever, right? If we're reading and they start to get tired, it's time to stop. If it's causing that fight, we don't want to encourage our kids to begin to feel so terrible about this and about themselves. We want to be the encouragers and hear the parents. So, we really don't want to build this this fight and this frustration together. So, stop, adapt. Say maybe tomorrow. We're going to feel different later. I can't tell you how many times I've said, it's time to put the pencil down with my own daughter. Totally fine. It's okay.
All right, you guys. We've got a couple of other good comments, questions, and we do want to open up the floor if you've got anything additional you want to chat with. But we do want to make sure that you're walking away not only with the links we provided in the chat to our Google Drive. I'll drop those again in just a moment. but that you have signed up for our newsletter. And so if you've got a fancy smartphone, you can open up your camera and scan away on our QR codes here. You can sign up for our newsletter by going to dyslexiacenterofaustin.org. Scroll all the way to the bottom. Yes, all the way. Go until you think you can't go anymore. And you can type in your information. You can also, if you are in our area, we do have a private dyslexia therapist list if you're looking for support over the summer. And guess what? Even if you're not in our area, we do have some CALTs that we've worked with that provide virtual therapy. You can also, I'm going to see if I can pull up that link really quickly. On our ALTA website, there is a directory, and I'm going to drop that link for you in the chat as well. altaread.org, you can find a dyslexia professional. And yes, so our hope is that we are going to be sharing out the recording of our session today, as well as the link to the Google Drive in our June newsletter. And so that comes out, we have a newsletter that comes out the first, well, not necessarily the first, but the first week of each month. And so we will be able to do that, to give you access to all those pieces. Yes, Karen, I can definitely go back to that. We've got 2 slides on handwriting. We've got some activities you can do. Feel free to take a screenshot or take a picture if you'd like. But hopefully this brings us to that road trip end, right? Where we are able to jump in the car, head down this pathway. Again, our big goal here is helping you move from speech to print, strengthening that oral language, layering on that letter knowledge, starting to blend those words together and applying that to the print, applying that to our reading situations, setting you up for success, finding those just right books, and then really building on that by engaging in some authentic writing.
And I'm noticing a couple of people asking in the chat about the recording for tonight, and it will be shared. It will be shared via the DCA newsletter. So it'll be coming out within, I don't know, a week or two, I'm guessing.
Oh,
That's the goal. And so make sure you've signed up for that. If you want, Lindsay could probably pop over to that QR code again,
oh
or you can
yes.
just find it on the Dyslexia Center of Austin website. It's on that front page. It's closer down to the bottom. There will be a, sign up for our newsletter form, and that will be coming out very, very soon. And definitely, please share, 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 share. Our goal is to get as many parents, as many resources over the summer that we can.
And we will, you heard it correctly for those early birds here this evening. We are going to be having other webinars throughout the summer. So this is really our first one, kicking things off geared towards parents. But we do have several others planned. So another reason to sign up for our newsletter or follow us on Facebook. And we're recently on Instagram because we're getting in with the cool kids now, right? We're not on Snapchat. I don't know how to do that.
I have some teenagers that can help us, I'm
Karen,
sure.
we're gonna put them on board.
And
All right. And Linda, I saw your question. I hope that I'm seeing some answers there. Let us know if you need additional support. And you guys, you can always email us questions if you ever need someone to chat with. That's what me and Karen's jobs are. Go ahead and reach out to us. We're always happy to jump on a phone call or a Zoom with you to help you think through whatever it is that you're working through. And of course, if you are feeling good, if you've signed up, you've downloaded, you've done the newsletter, we are really aiming to continue this important work. So on that Dyslexia Center of Austin website, there is always an opportunity to donate whatever you can to help us continue to reach as many families as possible. And of course, thank you. Thank you for being here with us tonight. And we hope to see you guys again soon. If there is a topic, because we're going to be creating these, please let us know if there's something you want to learn more about. Maybe it's a part that we mentioned tonight that you'd love a deeper dive on, or maybe it's something else. Maybe it's just a Dyslexia 101. What is it? What's going on? Let us know what your needs are, and we are going to try our best to fulfill those needs. So thank you. Thank you.
It's been so fun to see so many names and people that I know. I'm just like blown away by the sweetness of today. I see Miss Little Caitlin Worley. I haven't seen you in a while. Nice to see you, cutie. I see Miss Karen Simmons, who I trained with 10 years ago. I'm aging us, Karen. Sorry about that.
You're 12. No,
Right, right, with my teenagers.
with your team.
I see beautiful dyslexia therapists in training and people I know that we've trained. This is so great. Thank you guys for being here, spending your Wednesday night. And I really hope that these resources can help all the moms and dads and grandparents who are here tonight too.
Yeah, thank you all. And I'm recognizing lots of parent names or caregivers that have reached out to us for support over the years. So it's lovely to get to be with you all. All right, you guys. Let us know if there's anything else you need. And if not, we'll see you next time, right?
Keep your eyes on the newsletter for the next webinar that we have coming up.
Yeah.
It will be in June sometime, closer to the end of June.
All right. Bye, you guys.
All right, bye everybody.
I'm going to stop recording.